Hello everyone, we're here to talk about my book, A Practical Guide to Human Resources Management. My name is Jeff Stinson, and today we're going to talk about Chapter 9, which is how to train them. And of course the first question I would ask is, has any of us ever had enough training? Well, of course not. So some of the things we need to consider are why are we going to be doing this training for this employee? Are we trying to develop new skills? Is this a performance problem we're trying to solve? Is there some regulation that they need to learn to make sure the company doesn't get into trouble? So let's first decide if the problem really is training. Now, I put up on the screen here a ability and willingness chart, if you will. And on the left, you will see whether or not the employee has the ability to do the job. And at the bottom, it's whether the employee has the willingness. So if you look at these different quadrants, for example, quadrant A, this would be somebody who has a lot of ability but isn't very willing to do the job, and in that case we would do counseling, which I'm going to talk about in the next video. In quadrant B, if somebody has the ability to do the job and also is willing to do the job but for some reason isn't succeeding, well, that might be an issue of tools, or maybe the environment's not right, or there's some kind of relationship problem you need to consider. In quadrant C at the bottom left, that would be an employee that has neither the ability nor the willingness to do the job. And I think you know what we need to do about that, and we're going to talk about that in the next video as well. But for this video, it has to do with quadrant D, and that's somebody who is very willing to do the job but just simply doesn't have the ability. In that case, what we want to do is train. So the first thing we need to consider is what's called a training needs assessment. And some of the questions you want to ask when you're assessing these needs for training is, first of all, what are your goals? Are the goals clear, or is this some kind of training that everyone's going to do just because somebody thinks it's a good idea? So the second is, what are you trying to do? Provide information, which is what a lot of training is, or are you actually trying to improve their skills? And lastly, and probably most importantly, what change are you looking for in the training? If you're not looking for any change, then I would question whether it's even worth doing the training. The second thing to consider is this individual ready for training? Not everyone is ready, and you need to consider the following things. First of all, is the student have the ability to learn the subject matter? Secondly, are they favorably inclined to learn this particular subject matter? Because not just because somebody can learn it doesn't mean they want to learn it. And the last thing is, are they motivated to learn it? So all of these things need to be present for training to be successful. So what are some training methods? Well, obviously classroom training is one. Training videos is another. YouTube obviously is very popular these days. You can do role plays, case studies, computer-based training. There are learning games that can be played as well as experiential kinds of programs. So who should do the training? Well, ideally in the company, if you have a technical expert, they're the ones that probably should do the training since they understand your culture and your customer and the entire organization. However, they may not be exactly great trainers. Another potential source is an outside trainer. They are professional trainers, but they may not have the knowledge of the company that you might need. And a last one I would suggest is the American Society for Training and Development, and I put their website up on the screen. They're professionals and can certainly give you a lot of good advice. And lastly, how do we decide if the training's actually worked? Well, probably the least important method of training is to look at the satisfaction. Is the trainee satisfied with the training? That's nice, but it doesn't necessarily mean it was effective. The next way to look at whether training worked is a knowledge or abilities kind of test. So you could give them a pre-test before the training to see what their knowledge was, and then do a post-test after the training to see what they actually learned. Perhaps more importantly is the use of new skills on the job itself. So have their behaviors changed? Has their performance improved? And has the overall organizational performance improved? And one final thought, here is a website of a great list of potential training sources. Again, the book is A Practical Guide to Human Resources Management. It's available on Amazon as well as Barnes & Noble. Thank you very much.